I hope you all enjoy this collab. Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Phillies Side Show videocast. You're going to be having a very, very special guest. Please welcome Hunter Brody from Brodes Media. Brodes, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down so we could talk.
Absolutely, man. I'm pumped up. The Phillies right now, I know we just got done a Dodgers series that was a little deflating, but ultimately this team's given us a hot run, and I'm still looking forward to seeing what they do against the Reds.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be fun. Now, guys, before we get into this video, please subscribe if you have not yet. Please notification bell. Please like this video, comment on this video, share this video, and let's get into this. So I have a lot to talk about in this one. I want to first kick it off with Bryce Harper having an MVP season, OPP above 400. He's just having himself an MVP type season. We haven't seen these kind of numbers since 2015. I mean, these are just really, really good numbers. And I want to hear your thoughts on, Bryce Harper's season. And I mean, this is by far the best we've seen him in the Phillies uniform.
No doubt about it. When you talk about that 13-year, $330 million, this was the Bryce Harper that you were expecting. Now, to say that he needs to do this over 13 years is a little aggressive, right? That's not humanly possible. It's not physically possible. But based off of the stats that we saw in the first 2 years, this is a lot of success. And it's funny. I was having a debate with one of my buddies about what he did year one, which was 114 RBIs, 35 homers, 99 walks with a 260 batting average. Nice season. It was a good season.
It was above average.
Yeah, but this just brings it to another level here. And I will take the less home runs with that 300 batting average. And at one point, he had an OPS over, it was somewhere around the lines of over one dot. And you're talking about a 28-game sample size. That's just not human-like. So I'll take this run any day of the week over those strong numbers that he put up in 2018.
Absolutely. So I'm really, really impressed with what he's been able to do. And as you said, everybody was, being, really hard on him, I think, his first 2 years here. And even the numbers he put up then were, above average numbers. And, not to mention this defense, was amazing in 2019, those 13 outfield assists. And, in my opinion, I think you'd agree he's definitely lived up to this contract.
Yeah, for sure. And look, there's a lot of business decisions that come into Bryce Harper's contract, right? Sell seats, sells jerseys, tickets, all that. So, there's an element there for sure. It is interesting, though, with all the big contracts that get thrown out, with Mike Trout, with Mookie Betts, with Fernando Tatis, with all these players, Nolan Arenado, and thinking about money that he'll be making and all this. Bryce Harper seems to get the most hate around baseball, which, I don't know, maybe that's something to do with when he was younger in Sports Illustrated. He was on the cover, but he is the controversial number one piece to he's overpaid, he's overrated. I don't know why that is. Yeah,
I agree. I think you said it too. He's not even the best player in baseball, but and he's the face of baseball. I think you said this. If you go around and ask people, who's Mike Trout, I think more people are going to know who Bryce Harper is than Mike Trout.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's more of the personality that comes with him. Although I'll say this. We saw him have some feisty moments in Washington, D.C., and I'm not saying I want to see him fight our closer like he did in Papelbon in Washington, D.C., but I did expect more, and maybe this just comes with growing up and being in the mid-20s.
He's a father.
I did expect a little bit more pop from his personality side. He's
I feel that.
Very professional, which is not a bad thing. I thought there'd be more attitude and swag.
Right. Yeah. He's coming up when he's 19, he's going to have that chip on his shoulder. And I think, it's hard to believe he's been in the league now for 10 seasons. He's grown up a lot. Coming into a major league clubhouse at that young age, you have to have a certain level of maturity. So I think he's grown up a little bit. I think being around guys like Ryan Zimmerman when he was in DC, I think, matured him a little bit. And, also, getting married and, having kids, I think that, it's kind of just automatically makes you a more mature human being. So I want to shift gears here and talk about Zach Wheeler. In year number 2 of this 5-year, $120 million contract, which is just looking like a steal for this Phillies team. You go take a look at the Washington Nationals with Steven Strasburg, 7 years, $245, and they could have kept Rendon for that same amount of money in years, and they like to keep, Strasburg, which I guess, pitching wins games, right? But this contract has worked out much, much better than, Steven Strasburg with the Nats. What are your thoughts on Zach Wheeler with the Phils? This guy has just been lights out.
Tremendous. Even the best Zach Wheeler I thought you could land at the time would not be this. You're talking Cy Young caliber. This is ridiculous. Fastball command is there. He's getting the innings pitched He's striking out guys, and he's trusting his defense. I mean, I know last year we stressed this a bit more with the double play balls, but
Right.
he will rely on a sinker. He will allow for you to make contact. He's not afraid. And guess what? I'd be nervous as hell if I'm sitting there with Alec Boehm playing third base and some of these defenders, even
Didi Gregorius and short.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be very upset sometimes with some of the plays that were not.
That's how I feel about Kyle Gibson. Yeah, when he's pitching.
He throws the sinker 35% of the time, Kyle Gibson. You talk about relying on your defense heavily. So, yeah, getting back to Wheeler, though, it's just the way he has the velocity and command on that fastball, which as we can kind of, and I hate to already move on to Nola, but I'm just saying, you see how lethal fastball command is once you start throwing in other pitches, the curveball and all that, the off-speed pitches. It's amazing. He's just dialed in, and it's sensational. And
I love he's past TJ, and he could still do that. You know, it's a really good sign. Yeah, absolutely. And moving on to Aaron Nola, as you said, you know, he hasn't had an awful season. I mean, I think we saw this a little bit in 2019. You know, started off kind of rough and then kind of settled down a little bit. But, I mean, the inconsistencies with Aaron Nola really do concern me. We all know the potential's there. I mean, that amazing 2018 season, which was just amazing. I mean, we'd love to see him do that again. I mean, what are your thoughts on Aaron Nola here? I mean, you know, every other start's just a wild card. We all know it's in him. The potential's in him, but you know, it's just not really, you know, 100% there.
So with Aaron Nola, we have enough of a sample size now to see what I think he is. Now, this is an outlier, just like as you alluded to, that Cy Young year is an outlier. So I don't think he's what he was a few years ago, and I don't think he's a 4.5 ERA guy. That's back end of the rotation stuff where that's your fifth starter, and you hope and pray that he gets you through five with only allowing one earned run or something of that nature. That's not who Aaron Nola is. So what you need is you got to find that middle ground. And when you look at it, he's basically a 3.5 ERA guy, which is very acceptable in a starting rotation. It's very worthy of a spot. It's just not the top part of your rotation. So what you need to do to really bolster this thing is find someone to slot in between Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola. So you can have a Zach Wheeler, somebody who can be in between that, and then you'd have Aaron Nola as your three, as a 3.5 ERA kind of guy, which is acceptable with the ceiling and a team-friendly contract. That's, you know, important.
Yeah, exactly. And you just alluded to it. I mean, this is the kind of guy, I mean, he hasn't hit the market yet, of course, but I mean, that deal he signed prior to the 2019 season, as you just alluded to, a very team-friendly contract. And just moving on a little bit here at Kyle Gibson, and we talked about him a little bit before, but I think Tim Kelly said this too. I mean, when you have him on the mound, Freddie Galvis comes back, you have to start Ronald Torres and Freddie Galvis because, I mean, just Didi Gregorius and Alec Boehm have just been disasters to, you know, this year out in the field, and you just can't be having guys like that out there. And, you know, listen, if you want to clean up your defense, and fine, you can play, but I tell you what, if you're going to continue to make mistakes like that, and you're just not going to play on Kyle Gibson pitches. I mean, we need to get those ground ball outs, and when you hand team extra outs, I mean, it just has a ripple effect on the whole team. I mean, you know, you're standing out there more, puts more pressure on guys like Kyle Gibson. You're standing out there throwing more pitches, and it gives teams extra outs.
Right off the jump, I don't care who's on the mound. Ronald Torres is playing third base every day for me. And, you know, I know Alec Boehm is going to be a future of this franchise in their eyes, but I don't care right now. It's about winning baseball games. And I've always criticized the lack of urgency by Joe Girardi. He's always making decisions based off of 4 days from now and what that means for the pitcher 4 days from now. I don't care about 4 days from now. You're in a race. It's August. It's the middle of August. It's not May anymore. May, you do that. So then in August, you can utilize those players down the stretch. So I'm Torres every day over there. With Didi and the way that Kyle Gibson pitches, who I think gives you a very professional look. He's a professional pitcher who can get you through 6 innings and keep you involved in baseball games, and he'll eat up some innings for you. So a professional addition to the rotation. I'll say this about Didi, though, in regards to when you use Galvis, when you use Didi. We just saw in this last game against the Dodgers, he's got better defense than what he has shown. His power numbers and what he can provide for you it depends who's on the mound. Maybe if there's a lefty on, you think differently. If there's a righty on starting the game, you go with Didi.
Exactly.
His power numbers can make up for some of the flaws defensively, where I would keep him in the lineup.
You saw that last year.
Yeah, exactly.
You saw that last year. Yeah. And, you know, just a little quick segment here. I mean, trading away Spencer Howard involved in that Kyle Gibson trade. I just want to hear your thoughts about that for a sec. I mean, yeah, I mean, you know, he was the kind of guy that, you know, was, you know, a top prospect at one time, and another guy that just, I mean, you know, the Phillies had in their farm system that they just traded away, and it seems like it's a common theme at this point.
For sure, no doubt. So, okay, at the trade deadline, I was very, very, very vocal about wanting to kind of reshape this bad boy. So, Andrew McCutchen, who at one point from July 1st on, he was tearing up the league with OPS and he was providing a
Right.
ton of spark offensively. He's on the last year of his deal. Maybe you can get back some compensation. Aaron
Right.
Nola, I would be okay with trading Aaron Nola because there's a high upside with the contract that's team friendly. You can get assets back. Reese Hoskins, you can get assets back for them. And I wanted to trade. I did. I wanted to trade some of your pieces and reshape this bad boy because
Right.
look, this organization has been failing for so damn long. You had to
Right.
retool this bad boy. I would have been okay
Right.
with it. With that
Right.
said, they ran off 8 straight games, and it was magical. It was a fun ride. I didn't see it coming. Okay, so here we are. The thought process, though, of at that time being in any other division 10 games back or close to 10 games
Right.
back, except for the one you were in, you were somewhat fooling yourself. This was my thought process at the time. So trading a young Spencer Howard, who I'm not high on. I think he's going to be a reliever. I don't think he's anything special. But it's the fact that you give up on your number one prospect for a half of a year of
That's
Ian
David
Kennedy.
Dombrowski.
Yeah, a half of a year of Ian Kennedy and 1.5 years of Kyle Gibson to a degree, I think is flawed, but it has not been as bad as
Right.
what I thought because they ran off 8 straight. So with that thought process, it's the idea of giving up your
Right.
prospect for that is like, but look, I don't have a high ceiling on
Right.
Howard, so who am I to judge?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the thing with Howard is his velo, after the third inning would just go like this, and
I've never seen anything like that. Not to that level. Like to lose 5 miles per hour on a fastball in 1 inning it's honestly almost impossible to do.
just weird. Yeah. There's just there's no real explanation behind it. It's just really weird. Yeah. So going back to the trade deadline for a second, Freddie Galvis pickup, a guy hasn't played a game, I believe, since like June 26th. This organization has mishandled injuries time and time again. And, they told us that originally he's going to be back early August. Well, the date is August 13th and he's still not back yet. So, he hasn't been as good defensively this year. He knows with the Orioles, but he's going to provide some defensive upgrade over at shortstop. And he has some versatility in infield too. He doesn't just have to play short. So, your thoughts on the Freddie Galvis pickup at the trade deadline?
Yeah, it's one of those ones that you can't be upset about it. What you gave
Right.
up compared to what you acquired. And real quick, they did pick up a prospect in that trade.
Yes,
with
yeah.
Spencer Howard, which does change.
22-year-old, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, his name's Hans. Apparently this guy's a little whacked. He's like crazy, mustache, mullet, nuts, great, like awesome personality guy. So it does change. The fact that you got him back in return is definitely, and Dave Dombrowski mentioned it in that press conference that without him in the trade, they might have not have made that deal. So that does play a role in the, in how I feel afterwards. But going back to Freddie Galvis, what you gave up, it's impossible to hate this. You have think about it. Heading into the trade deadline, what did this team need help with? Defense, bullpen, and starting pitching.
Right.
Now, I'm not telling you they got insanely aggressively better, but they got marginally better in all 3 of those areas. So in Dave Dombrowski's case, based off of the poor division and where they were, they made their team better and moved in the right direction.
Yeah, and one thing I kept stressing was do not trade for Chris Bryant, do not trade for, Trevor Story, and we don't need another big offensive piece. We need to focus on pitching because pitching wins games. And that was my main concern, and everybody seemed to be upset when Chris Bryant was dealt to the San Francisco Giants. But in my opinion, I think that was a blessing in disguise because we just don't need another big offensive piece. We need to focus on the pitching staff. As you said, the defense too. Do you agree with me on that?
Yeah, I think for me, the one thing with Chris Bryant is he's a big name, right? And he had such a great season.
And a Bryce Harper connection too, went to the same high school. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I guess my big thing is, like back in, I'm looking up his stats now. It was 2016 that he won the MVP year, hitting 292, 40 homers basically with 102 RBI. Right now he's hitting 268. Last year he hit 206. It's a big name. What you would be doing if you extended him and all is you're paying a lot of money for a name that popped that might not be giving you the same number. And that doesn't mean he's bad. And it doesn't mean if in the offseason he becomes a free agent and comes here because of Bryce and they work out a reasonable deal, I would be against it. I'm not saying that, but it's one of those players where you hear Chris Bryant and your eyes light up, but he's not giving you 295 anymore.
No, not at all. And he already turned down 250 from the Cubs, 250 mil. when he's with the Cubs, and he's a Scott Boras client. What makes you think he's going to settle for anything less?
Well, there you go. And you hit on something, too, because Rhys Hoskins, not that, look, this is down the road. He's got a couple years of arbitration left. But Scott Boras client, they always come back to bite you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I believe isn't Alec Bohm now Scott Boras client? Did I hear that somewhere? Or?
I don't know. I'll look it up right now.
Yeah.
That's interesting, though. Yeah.
I mean, he's one of those big power agents.
Yep, you're right. Super agent Scott Boras snags Alec Bohm. Yep. The problem is, though, I hate to say this. This is just gut feel and just watching Alec Bohm play because he's a disaster to me. Right. I think he's going to fall in the category of, unfortunately, one of those prospects that had a lot of hype and ended up just being nobody because he cannot pull the base. But the difference is, when you look at him, he has like the body frame and the structure to be what we want him to be, but he doesn't pull the baseball. He's supposed to be a power hitter that hits for numbers, and he hits singles the other way. All he does is poke it the other way. That's all he does, and he'll never be a good defender. You can't hide him in left field. It'll be a Rhys Hoskins experience all over again.
Oh my gosh!
I'm worried about who Alec Bohm is, and it seems like he's trending in the direction of a lot of the other prospects that have a lot of hype and end up being somewhat of a of a nobody.
Yeah. Name one prospect over the past 10 years that has truly, really panned out in this organization.
Aaron Nola, and even that, like, look at us.
Yeah, exactly.
About Aaron Nola, and I wouldn't say that's because of I don't know if that's an organizational failure though. Right. Nola, I think that's more internally in himself more than anything else.
Right. I don't have a lot of confidence in our scouting, our play development, our management. I think it's just been poorly run for years now.
Rhys Hoskins, though, to be fair, like Rhys, I know we can be hard on Rhys, but he worked out.
Yeah, I mean, he's the kind of guy. He's not going to hit for a high average. He's going to hit below 250. He's even going to, his career average is around like 237. He's going to hit about 35 runs a year for you, and he's going to drive in around 100 RBIs. He's going to have a decent OBP, but you count on this guy for a good defensive player. I mean, he's not like a terrible defender, but he's not. I wouldn't say he's good. But
good.
No, not at all. Yeah. So moving on to this NL East division. I mean, probably the best division in baseball at the beginning of the season, and what a joke it is now. With the Phillies ahead. I mean, barely, right? The Braves, of course, heating up. I mean, the Mets just swept out the Nats, who are a terrible team, right? I mean, they Mike Rizzo blew it up. So what are your thoughts on this division? Who do you see taking this?
So I honestly don't know, but I'll tell you this. No one's going to run away with it. It's not going to be the Braves by 7 games, or it's not going to be the Phillies by X amount of games, or even the Mets. I know we're crushing the Mets, and all season long, their offense has just been a disaster, which makes no sense because there's so much power throughout it. It's kind of bizarre for them to be so low in the ranks when it comes to offensive efficiency.
Last year they weren't. Yeah,
I know. It's truly remarkable to see like how bad it is.
Right.
But I don't know. Like, I honestly don't know. And that's what makes me excited about this run where here's what I'll say. Yesterday I was at Xfinity Live. I sat through that game, by the way. I went to the game. It felt like 110 degrees. I was dying 2 minutes into it. But my buddy and I were at Xfinity before, and they were showing the Braves highlights. Right. And we did say, at the end of the day, as much as we want the Phillies to win this, if the Braves did win it, it would almost feel right, though, because this is so bad. Like, we do know deep down that the Braves are in the best, even with the injuries and Freddie Freeman slow start. Like, the Braves are still.
And Osuna, doing what he did off the field. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's look. I'm rooting for the Phillies. I want them to do it. Any team could snag this because of how bad it is, but it would feel right if it's the Braves. Right. They're probably in the best position to do it.
I'd rather see the Braves do it than the Mets because, in my opinion, I mean, the Mets are my least favorite team. I hate them, but I don't dislike the Braves as much as I do the Mets. But
but I'm weird because I can. I don't know if this is normal, and it's kind of weird for Phillies fans to say this, but I can separate that Phillies not for the Mets as much, but for the Braves. If I'm just taking myself out of it, because I'm a big baseball guy outside of Phillies, right? I got MLB TV package late at night at 10 o'clock. Nice. I got Giants on one TV, Dodgers on the second TV, and the Seattle Mariners on the third. And I'm just randomly watching games out on the West Coast till 1 in the morning. So it's a beautiful night for me, right? So I could take away watching the Braves specifically, a healthy Braves lineup with Ozzie Albies and Acuna and Freddie Freeman. Like, I genuinely, from a baseball fan perspective, love watching the Braves play when they're when they're
Right,
clicking
right.
and fully healthy. Like I actually
Mhm.
thoroughly enjoy them just from a baseball perspective.
Yeah, they're a good team. I mean, they're a very good team. They were 1-1 away from winning the pennant last year. It's insane. They choked.
Yeah, oh, for sure. And that's
Yeah,
something that they it seems that they constantly do over this little stretch that they've had the last couple
absolutely.
of years.
Absolutely. So another team in this division, the Nationals, right? I mean, GM and President Mike Rizzo. I mean, yeah, they didn't even win a World Series even 2 years ago. I mean, right? I mean, and here they are already a different core. I mean, I'm shocked that they traded Trey Turner. I mean, great slide, by the way, right? I'm sure you saw that. That amazing
Oh
slide.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was it. I don't need how many times did you watch that trying to figure out how did that happen?
yeah. I watched like on loop. It was constantly. Yeah, yeah. Like so smooth, yeah. And Max Scherzer wasn't much of a surprise to me. Getting older. I mean, he's a legend there. But I think losing Rendon also hurt. After they won, and it's just amazing. Blowing it up like that. And I think keeping Juan Soto. I mean, this guy. 6 years, he's going to be 28. So I think he's the kind of guy you could keep in DC and build around him. And I think you could win another ring with Juan Soto. So what are your thoughts on the Nationals? Just totally just just pretty much just blowing up their team.
I go back and forth in my head about it because, as I alluded to before, with the trade deadline with the Phillies, it's like there's something to be said about realizing, hey, this division's bad. We're not where we want to be. We got to
Right.
make some major changes. The Trey Turner one's a little bizarre though, because I feel you mentioned Juan Soto, phenomenal player. You can build around him. You would think the package of Juan Soto and Trey Turner is what you kind of have as your mold. At the same time, though, I need to see 5 years down the road how this works because they ended up getting some legitimate, insane prospects in return for Max Scherzer and Trey Turner. The Dodgers sent
Yeah.
over some legitimate talent that have a high praise for what they're going to be in the major
You saw
leagues.
that
So,
one guy starting against the Phils. Yeah, I think it was the
yeah,
first game of the series.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, their prospects that are being thrown around are no joke. I almost give them credit right now for it's this theory. I'd rather do it early than do it too late. And you mentioned, some of these contracts with the pitchers. Did that set them back where now they have to kind of look in another direction because they spent a lot of money with Corbin? They spent a lot of money on
Yeah.
Strasburg, and it hasn't had the impact that
Uh,
they wanted to. So because of that, is this sort of a cause and effect? Because we spent here,
right.
we now have to kind of reshape in another area and retool some things. But I almost give them credit because they're not being full. It's look, we've been through 500 baseball for years and years and years now, and I keep saying like we're getting the same product. Something
Right.
has to change. I almost respect that the Nationals are saying, look, we know where we're at. We're going to make tough decisions, but something has to change here. And I almost give them credit for
Right.
it.
Yeah, I think you said it. Your concern is that they're just going to keep running out the same core year after year after year, and it's just going to be the same outcome.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And if you tie that to the Phillies, this 8-game run was the most we've seen out of this team in 3 years where it's legitimate baseball. Like that felt different. That was
Right.
a different style. And keep in mind though, they played the Nationals and the Mets, two teams that are dumpster fires, and then you basically have a team in the Dodgers who show you why they are at the top of the
Right.
league. So, you can't pretend like they weren't playing bad talent. At the same time, they went out and grabbed those victories as well. So, but yeah, it's the most explosive we saw out of this Phillies team. At the same time, is that a product of who they were playing? Is this like, for example, the Nationals, right?
Right.
When Kyle Schwarber was going off, they won a ton of games.
Right.
Every bad team over 162 wins a lot of games. So is this a product of just a good run that a team has throughout 162, whether they're
Right.
good or bad, or is this really who they're going to be?
Right. Yeah, I always heard this saying, you're going to lose a third of your games, you're going to win a third of your games. It doesn't matter what you do in that other third that is really going to determine whether you make the postseason or not. And I thought for a while there, when we got swept out, and I think it was like mid to late June, right, by the Nats in that quick 2-game series, I thought maybe the Nationals had a chance of winning this division. I mean, they were, playing really good baseball. As you said, Schwarber just going off.
Exactly. So that's what we're trying to figure out now. Who are the Phillies? It's a test after a test after a test. And, you find it's kind of like going through college. You have your first exam, your second exam, your third exam, then you have the final. Well, right now, after watching this team play against the Dodgers, and it's a weird way to kind of feel because you never want to see your team win. But knowing
Right.
that you still have the Diamondbacks out there, Orioles, the Diamondbacks again, the Nationals, the Marlins, some of these
Right.
bad teams. What you need to do in this 6-game stretch against the Dodgers, which we've already seen one of 3, is you got to go at least get 2 wins. So if you go
Right.
2-4 against the Reds and the Dodgers, you're still set up fine. So I know that's a weird way to approach it because you want to win, But,
Right.
you just can't get swept in these 2 sets here, and the first one they did it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. And, also, the Cubs coming to town in September. So, they're a team that, as we just talked about, just totally blew it up. So, Hunter, thank you so much for taking the time to come on. I really, really appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Anytime. Talk some baseball.
Yeah, we got to do this again. There's no question about that. Yeah. So, guys, since you watch this video, please subscribe if you have not yet. Please notification bell. Please like this video, comment on this video, share this video. Check out the social media link in the description section at Phillies Instagram, Instagram, call or text 267-225-3292. Email me, philliesevent@gmail.com. So, guys, since you're watching, Phillies open up a 3-game sitting against the Cincinnati Reds 7-5. The first pitch tonight. So, guys, since you're watching, I'm Luke, and I'll talk to you later. I was joined by Hunter Brody. I'll see you guys.